Hello and welcome to Across Africa. I'm Georgia Calvin-Smith with our weekly look at stories from across the continent. Coming up in the programme, hundreds have become thousands. The number of South Sudanese refugees heading into Uganda every day sees a huge uptick. We take a look at the camp to which many have fled. Also, creative vision, not violence. People living in the troubled Tunisian region of Kasserine turn to theatre in a bid to show a different side to their community. And we hear from Afro-pop personality supreme Yemi Alade. She was in Paris for the first leg of her world tour ahead of the release of her new single. But first, more than 3,000 South Sudanese fled into Uganda on Tuesday after government soldiers attacked the border town of Pajok. After 3 years of civil war, it's become almost impossible for journalists in South Sudan to do their work. So refugees' testimony now document the war. Grania Harrington and Thais Brook sent us this report from Uganda.
They walk for days in the punishing heat. At the end of the road lies Uganda and the hope of some security. In a steady stream, hundreds cross here each day. Angelina and her sister travelled for a month to get here.
Our journey wasn't easy, especially with our kids. We had to stop. Sometimes we were staying 2 or 3 days to rest under a tree.
Opened in August last year, Bidi Bidi has since become the largest refugee settlement in the world, with more than 270,000 inhabitants. Now refugees are being sent to the newly opened Mvepi settlement. With famine hitting parts of South Sudan, health checks are vital for new arrivals, particularly young children.
But for them, once they start starving, they will have diarrhea, and diarrhea kills a person in no minute. Yeah.
As those who've just arrived receive a hot meal, there's a scramble to be first in line.
This is 6 days, we don't have anything at the road. We are suffering totally.
This will be Betty's new home. She's lucky to have made it. Both her uncle and her brother were killed by government soldiers on the road to Uganda.
The cutting, even those who the dead body, some people can see dead body on the way. She's using panga and she's cutting. This place is all just like that.
The refugees here are escaping one of the worst humanitarian disasters in the world. Human rights organisations accuse government forces of ethnic cleansing and deliberate starvation of civilians. For thousands like Betty, the dangerous journey to shelter in Uganda remains the best option for survival.
Nigeria's long struggled with corruption, but several local NGOs are trying to lift the lid on bad practices. One organisation in Lagos specialises in monitoring public spending. It's helped to hunt down abandoned projects that still receive government funds.
This health centre may never see the light of day. Construction on the site's been at a standstill for 3 years. A team from Budget have come to see for themselves, guided by inhabitants from Abeokuta. The residents alerted the governor and members of parliament, but there's been no reaction to this day.
Even when they built this health centre, that you people are aware that 200 million was being budgeted. I don't think you people allow them to do this kind of thing for you. Do you understand?
Yet this health centre has been included in Nigeria's budget since 2004. Every year, the Clinic of Olomor is brought up at the National Assembly. It's one of thousands of community projects voted by the Senate and the House of Representatives. Altogether, nearly 35 million euros are allocated for development. But according to independent experts, only one project out of 5 actually breaks ground.
And when we do a budget, we intend to send those projects to every part of this country so that all Nigerians from all spheres will benefit from what we're doing here. But the reality today is simply that we do not have that kind of money, and we are moving as fast, cautiously and prioritizing to ensure that things get done where we can.
The budget team is recognised as a reliable technical partner by the federal government, but their mission to monitor Nigeria's public finances is fraught with complications.
Sometimes it gets very dangerous because the political parties, their agents might be part of the meetings, and then they would come and say you're trying to incite people against them and things like that. We've actually experienced a couple of that, but we've been able to scale through just by being diplomatic.
In the community of Olomouc, the women have their hopes pinned on budget and still dream of having a real health centre one day.
After a day of heated debate, Benin's parliament narrowly rejected a proposal from President Patrice Talon to amend the constitution. The change had been a manifesto promise of Talon's when he was on the campaign trail last year. Some see the defeat as a major setback for his leadership.
A surprise setback for Patrice Talon. Benin's parliament narrowly rejected the president's proposal to amend the constitution after it fell 3 votes short of the required 80% majority.
Our constitution will stay as it is. All the good aspects remain, but all the difficulties remain as well. It's a process, and we intend to keep fighting.
The reform sought to introduce a single presidential term, which had been one of Patrice Talon's main campaign promises. Other measures included abolishing the death penalty and ending parliamentary immunity, but also reducing the judiciary's powers. Opponents of the bill denounced Talon's decision to pass it through parliament rather than organize a referendum as he had promised last year. The details of the proposed 43 changes were also not publicly released, adding to a growing climate of suspicion surrounding the reform. The vote was therefore seen as a test of the president's support in parliament.
Today we have shown that MPs cannot and will not be manipulated.
Opposition MPs hailed the outcome of the vote as a victory for the people and a slap in the face for the government.
The deprived Tunisian region of Kasserine borders Algeria and often sees fatal clashes between jihadists and security forces. Those who live there are trying to show a different side to their home by turning the spotlight away from terror and onto theatre. Our correspondents report.
It's time for laughter in the small village of Lafrache in southern Kasserine. Bilal Alwi's travelling theatre has fans across many schools in the countryside of this deprived region. Their goal is to bring the joy of theatre to rural communities.
We go where there's no theatre, no cultural events, nothing. We sometimes see children who don't know what chocolate is and who don't recognise the mascots and puppets we use.
As the volunteer actors head for the next village in their old truck, we go further up to the mountains, where another project is blossoming.
We're here on the southern side of Mount Semema, just a few hundred meters away from the closed military zone. Since 2013, these mountains have been a rear base for dozens of jihadists, but now the people of the region have decided to reconquer their territory through culture. And today, in this amphitheater they dug with their own hands, is the day of their big show.
Our mountain scares people. No one ever comes here, only the army. With this event, we want to show that there's nothing to fear, that people can live here.
Adnan Haleli started the project. The artist and French teacher had the idea of turning attention away from mines and explosions and towards local culture. He even transformed a hen house into a film club.
Culture is here. It's fighting the terrorists bravely, without weapons, only with sticks and through culture, education, faith, and the love of others. We can't fight this cancer not only with bombs.
The venture aims for more than a one-off. In the hopes of boosting the influence and reach of the arts in the remote region, the association started working on setting up a cultural centre for the highlanders of Kasserine.
And finally, Nigerian Afro-pop star Yemi Alade was back in Paris to kick off her Mama Africa World Tour. The winner of the Best Female Artist in the MTV African Music Awards in 2015 and 16, she popped in to tell me about some of her latest projects and the importance of including her fans in her musical success.
After releasing Mama Africa, we've been shooting so many videos, we've been touring, even though not officially. Other than that, we've been just trying to make good music, you know. It's pretty much that. And then we recently went on a world project with Shell, with Pixie Lot, what's her name? Jennifer Hudson, Hannah, I can't remember his name, but we were 5 people from the continents, different continents, and we were going to like low developed places, people that were in places that needed a lot of help, especially communities that didn't have so much access to resources, and we helped them with lights, but most especially they were means of energy that weren't they didn't have any side effects, like there are no carbon monoxide on the side or whatsoever. So it's like green light.
Because you're actually you're incorporating humanitarian work on this new world tour that you're currently on. How does that work?
Well, we intend to. Normally, people would always go to charities and all that. We're going to do that, but the thing we want to do is also help the youths, people who are already empowered but just need the next step. For instance, you want to be a fashion designer, blah blah blah, but you're finding it difficult with certain, maybe like rent or blah blah blah. We could just come through or get you like a machine or 2. So let's like empowering the youths alongside, you know, the charity and all that. Because charity, at the point in my career, I realized that charity is something that we're obligated to do. And that's what we're trying to do. So charity and empowering the youth. Because if we don't, who will?
Well, it's a really busy year for you. You're going on a world tour. You're going to try and combine that with humanitarian work. You're also releasing an extended play version of your last album, which was Mama Africa. This one's called Mama Afrique. And you're speaking a lot of languages on
French, Swahili, and Portuguese.
Why Portuguese?
Well, I have a thing for languages. So maybe next year or by the end of the year, you hear a song in Spanish or whatever. So, and I know that a lot of African countries, some of them speak Portuguese, like Mozambique and the rest. So it's just about sharing the love. I love languages, so do it while you can, right?
Well, it's a real pleasure catching up with her once again. That is, though, where we're going to have to leave it for Across Africa. Thanks for joining us. Do so again. Take care.